Hello, I'm Mrs Burrow and I'm going to share some thoughts about how to plan your response to the GCSE English Language Paper 1 Question 5, the creative writing piece. Keep the character you've created in English lessons with you as we go through this. It's going to offer you one way to plan. It's designed to help you create an original voice for your piece of writing, which will make it really interesting for whoever's reading it and will also help maximise your marks. So, the question, always the same. You get an image and you get two questions. And it's either write a description suggested by this picture or write the opening to a story about the best present you ever received. Okay, so just thinking about that for a moment, what do you think the best present that your character could ever have received or given? Just keep them in mind. So the exam board divide the marking for this question into two parts. You get 24 marks for content and organisation. So you need to write what you've been asked to, write a description or the opening to a story, and use interesting structural devices like a flashback or flash forward. This will help you to create an engaging voice for your writing. It needs to be personal. You need to be able to hear somebody writing instead of it being mechanical. And you also need to use ambitious vocabulary. You could get a head start with this vocabulary by learning 3 interesting words your character could use or would be likely to use, and 3 interesting words to describe them. You'll be able to transfer those to all sorts of things when you're writing. The other batch of marks is for technical accuracy. You get this for the sentences, punctuation, using a range of punctuation, using standard grammar, standard English, getting your spelling correct, and again using ambitious vocabulary. So you'll notice that vocabulary appears twice, so it's really, really important to get lots of sophisticated words into your writing. Having said that, you need to know what these words mean, so you need to use them correctly to get the marks for them. So here's a quick checklist to make your writing interesting. First up, use an imaginative structure. Think about where you're going to start. Moments of change, flash forwards, flashbacks, a range of paragraphs, 1-word paragraph or 1-sentence paragraph. So where in this picture would you start? What would you hone in at? If this was your picture, would it be one of the presents? Would it be this child that's waving? Or would it be that child in the background who's just watching what's going on? Or one bauble on the Christmas tree. So think about where you're going to start before you broaden out your description. You also need to use lots of techniques. That's the metaphors, similes, alliteration and assonance, all of those things that we talk about in lessons that do make your language richer and more interesting for someone. You've got to show off with that vocabulary. As I've said, it appears twice on the mark scheme, so start collecting words, memorise them, and see where you can slot them into your own writing. You're going to show off with sentence types. You've got simple sentences, which are very short, to the point, direct, and then you've got compound and complex sentences. And you use a range of these to help vary the pace, which once again will make your writing more interesting. And also show off with a range of punctuation. I've created another presentation to help you with punctuation specifically. So that's what you need to do. Now for how to plan so that you can do this. So let's use the image question. There's usually a connection between the two questions, so you can use the image to gather ideas for both of them. So we've got this lovely picture of a Christmas tree, all lit up and 4 children standing around it. It's interesting, isn't it? I want you to begin by writing down as many ideas as you can about the image. Begin with the first thing that pops into your head and then allow yourself to make connections. Just allow your mind to flow freely, and the ideas will come if you let them. Don't discard anything, don't think about it, don't filter it, just write them down. So here are my ideas. Christmas Eve, stealing the chocolate tree decorations, hiding a present, looking for a present, an accident, anticipation, and imprisonment. So I didn't filter those as I wrote them down, I just wrote them. Christmas Eve maybe is a little bit ordinary and straightforward, and lots of people would possibly have started with Christmas Eve. So I'll discard that one. Stealing the chocolate tree decorations is a memory that I have, and something my children did as well, and actually something that my mum did when she was a child. Family trait there. Hiding a present, looking for a present, could be interesting. I'm not sure where that would go then. An accident. I did have a moment where I thought, I wonder what would happen if that baby stood up and pulled that tree down. Might be my most interesting moment because it will allow for some drama and some excitement in that description. Anticipation. So it's that moment of waiting for something that you've waited for a long time, something really exciting happening. And then finally, imprisonment. Strange one, it's all got a little bit dark. Those children are trapped, forced to live Christmas Eve, day after day after day, a sort of Groundhog Day thing going. So I've got all of those ideas. And once you've got a few ideas of your own, choose the most interesting. This makes it personal, and you're more likely to write about something different to everyone else, which once again makes your story stand out and allows you to have a personal voice. Once you've got your idea, then you need to settle on your point of view. Is your character in this image? Is your character one of those children? Is this a childhood memory for them? Is this a moment in time that they've never forgotten because it was so perfect? And are you telling it from their point of view? Or is your character the person taking the picture on the outside of this little close-knit group? And how does that make them feel? Or finally, you could have them as an omniscient narrator. So there's somebody who's they're watching over your character here. They know everything about them and they know everything about the other characters there. They're all decisions you can make based on your character and your ideas. So now you should have your key idea and a viewpoint. And I want you to set a timer for 2 minutes. I know you can't do this in the exam, but if you practice this, it'll help you in the exam to keep this short. And I want you to add anything you like to the image. You can draw things, or you can just annotate, just write on it. Don't filter, follow the same process, just get as many ideas as you possibly can. So for example, I'd a fire burning in the grate. I'd also add a dog because that's a perfect family Christmas, isn't it, with a dog with it. I think I'd have either a mirror on the wall behind the boy in green, a big one, that had something reflected in it that would tell us perhaps the person taking the photograph is reflected in the mirror, or maybe a huge family picture, something that's got them and their parents and everything interesting going on in it. Okay, so that's what I'd add. Or possibly some hot chocolate as well, or some food. I don't know, but keep adding, keep thinking. What are you going to add to that? So once you've added as much as you can, start to label your image. Start with the senses; they're very important. So I'd label this with the smell of the pine tree, the smell of that hot chocolate, the smell of the wood burning in the fire. And then think about sound, the fire crackling, the sound of the baby crawling across the wooden floor, a sort of combination of a sort of shuffle and a slap as the hands go down. Okay. The other children laughing, saying no to the baby, the dog's tail thumping on the floor as it wags because it's enjoying itself, just being with its family. Then think about touch. What can you feel? You've got the prickliness of the pine tree compared to the smoothness of its baubles, the coldness of the floor and the heat of the fire. So don't filter, just keep adding, keep labelling. Okay. So after you've labelled, you're going to ask yourself, what is this like? So this is to get you to think about using similes and metaphors. Okay. Write down all of your ideas and don't filter, just write them all down because you'll select from them later. So for example, I'd say the Christmas tree sparkled and glistened in the dark room and smelled of happiness. Or the floor was cold like an Arctic tundra. Write them all down, write as many down as you possibly can, because the more you've got, the more choice you have. Should take you about 5 minutes to do that. So, Here we go. This is a quick summary of what we've been through. How you plan. You start by getting your ideas down. Then once you've done that, you think about your perspective. Whose viewpoint are you writing from? Then you draw on your picture as many things as you possibly can. After you've drawn, label it with the senses, starting with texture and touch, but think about other things as well. Think about smell and what you can hear. Add alternatives for each. So keep adding detail and keep adding detail. And then ask what the words are like, so you think in similes and metaphors. So once you've got all of these things written down, you're ready to collect which ones you think are the best ideas or phrases and turn them into a crafted piece of writing. You should practice this as often as you can using any picture you see, anything that interests you. So I hope this has been helpful, and good luck with your writing.